Hi, everybody. Natasha Koch here with the Van City Home Team, and welcome to this Tuesday's Real Estate Tips. Today, we're going to talk about the closing costs for buyers. So many of you might remember, and if not, link below for the closing costs for sellers. I thought only fair to talk about the closing costs for buyers. So this is actually, and you probably can't see this, but this is the front page of a contract to purchase and sale for buyers. If you would like a copy of a blank contract at purchase and sale, please private message me. I'm happy to send it out to you. It's always good, and actually we always send it to our buyers in advance so that they can kind of be prepared to see what a contract will look like, because it's pretty overwhelming and a lot of it is pretty standard, but it's still pretty overwhelming. Anyway, I'm just going to go through the list that is actually indicated on here. But rule of thumb, honestly, for all buyers, I always say 2%. Between 1 and 2%, you should have set aside over and above the price of the property, and that's 2% of the cost of the property. So if it's, $400,000, you should have at least 1 to 2% of that set aside for extra costs, because there's always hidden costs in everything, and you do not want to be sitting in your living room on the floor of your new home and not being able to afford a sofa because you put all your money into buying the house. Okay, so number one fees is going to be the lawyer and the notary fees. So when you buy a home as a buyer, you will become the owner of the property. And so in order to become the owner of the property, you will use either a lawyer or a notary to do what's called the conveyancing of the property, to transfer title into your name. Now, a lawyer and a notary can both do the same thing. However, a lawyer will cost a little bit more because they have the ability to act on your behalf legally, whereas a notary can only do the registration of title and adjustments for it. So it really is up to you whether or not you want to use a lawyer or a notary. There is, about a $300 to $400 cost difference between the two, and the price range for a notary and lawyer is anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 per transaction. So if you're buying and selling, you will have to pay that twice, but you'll see that cost is included in my seller's video as well. Okay, so just to let you know what your lawyer or notary does for that $1,500, because it's always good to ask, especially if you're hiring a realtor, ask them what they're doing for their commission. But a lawyer and notary, same thing. They search the title, they draft the documents. There's land title registration fees, so those are pretty standard. They are standard actually. And so you want to make sure that if you get a price quote from the lawyer or notary, that they're including the land registration or title registration fees in there, because some people say, oh, this one's charging way less. Well, it may be because they didn't include the registration fees. Survey certificate. Survey certificate is basically a diagram of where the property or where the home is situated on the property. Sometimes that's required. Sometimes you can just get title insurance, and there's a cost for title insurance as well. Survey certificates usually range between $300 to $600, depending on the size of the property. And it may not even be required, but it's good to just make sure in case. Costs of the mortgage. Are you getting a mortgage? If so, the lender will likely want to get an appraisal done on the property to make sure that it's of good value and that they're willing to lend on it. So market value is something completely different. That's based on the market conditions. Lending value appraisal is done a little different and a little more conservative, because the bank's, of course, lending you money. So cost of an appraisal is usually, again, somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 to $600, depending on whether or not there's a rush needed, because, of course, the banks are backlogged. So a few $100s for that. Okay, the land title registration fees are either included or not included in your legal fees. Fire insurance. So if you do have rental right now, maybe you're living in a rental apartment, you may have content insurance. Fire insurance is a little bit different, but along the same line. So it would be like renter's insurance with the addition of covering you for any loss due to a fire or something happening in the unit. Now, if it's a condo, you will want to check with your realtor to make sure that you have enough coverage for the inside of your unit due to any damage that was caused maybe by a neighboring property. And there are requirements actually in strata to have a certain amount of insurance. So you want to check what those are. On a house, it will be different. And honestly, I can't give you a guideline of price for insurance because it really varies on the type of property. But you can pay as little as $50 a month, for a small unit up to, $200 a month, depending on the size of the property. Okay, so sales tax. Sales tax is an interesting one because there is only GST on new properties and on land purchases. So you do have to pay GST on new properties and on land purchases, but there is a rebate that you can apply for to get some of that back, after you've purchased it, or at the time of the adjustment, they will do that for you. So GST only on those two properties. Resale properties does not have GST applicable. Foreign purchase tax, we all know out there, if you are not a Canadian citizen, or if you don't have your permanent resident card, there is a foreign purchase tax. But generally, if you're already a resident here or a citizen, you wouldn't have to worry about that tax. Property transfer tax, 1% on the first 200,000, 2% above that. It does climb after that, but generally, as a first-time buyer, you're probably only going to be paying the 1% on the first 200 and 2% thereafter. So calculate that because that's going to be the biggest bulk. Now, again, first-time buyers, there's some incentive programs. They're always changing and they're always introducing new ones. So check with your mortgage broker about some of the savings on that. And of course, I already went through GST, so only on land and on new property. So I usually kind of briefly go through the costs with buyers when we sit down and write the contract. But like I said, if you would like a copy of it and a little more detailed description on what I talked about today, please don't hesitate to reach out. I hope you found this Tuesday tips valuable and have an amazing week.